How should you spend your first 10K? That's a question I often get asked. And I think it's a very important question, which is why me and Mike are making a video about it today. Because the sooner you start investing your money correctly, the sooner you can start taking advantage of compound interest in some way or another. So, Mike, the reason why I invited you on here today is because you have a bunch of experience, made a bunch of smart business decisions. But firstly, I wanted to ask you, how did you spend your money when you first got some?
When I first got some, I spent it like many of us do. I went out and I treated myself to nice restaurants and I went and did things I wanted to do. And that was a mistake. And so we want to think about when we first start making money, yes, you want to take a small portion of that and go do something fun, like one evening, and be done. And then think about how you're going to invest. I started first of all by taking myself down to the library and looking for books written by people who were doing the things that I wanted to do. So, sort of mentors by reading, if you could think of it that way. The library didn't have that many books. In my realm of capital markets and investing in stocks and bonds, there weren't that many books written by people who'd actually done it at the library. So my big investment came from going to Amazon, and I probably spent almost everything I made in the first couple months. I spent on buying books by people who'd actually built things, actually built investing businesses. It's hard. I'm a slow reader. I know many people out there have other problems with reading for various reasons, and it's hard, and it's a matter of discipline. And sometimes the best thing to do is a trick I learned. Just look at the overall chapter. Let's say the chapter's 50 pages, and you just say, all right, the first day I'm just going to read through the 50, even if I'm skimming, even if I start falling asleep, I'm just going to get through the 50 pages. And I would set a time limit, 45 minutes. I will get as far as I can get in 45 minutes. I will take a break, and I will come back for another 45 minutes until I'm done. And I would just do that. That first read through gave me a good idea what the chapter is about, more or less. Then I would do a second read through on the next day. And this time didn't have a timer. I would just read until I get tired of reading and then come back to it after a break. The second reading is when the information really starts to sink into our brain. That first reading sort of primes our brain to receive the information. But that's how you read that much. Also, you become kind of a nerd and you get a reputation, and it's hard to get dates. So I should mention that.
I guess that's the good things about audiobooks. People can't see if you're listening to audiobook or you're just watching YouTube videos, so they ain't gonna call you a nerd anymore. But yeah, that kind of got me off guard. But yeah, talking to that, now that you spoke a little bit about it was a mistake, and with the information that you know now, could you explain a bit more? What would you do differently?
Would go back and tell my younger self to think about career aspirations differently. What would have helped me more at that age was to sit and ask myself three questions. What am I thinking about? Am I making any incorrect assumptions? And who can teach me the things that I want to learn to get to where I want to be? I didn't have the presence of mind to ask myself all three of those questions at that age. I skipped straight to number three. The thing that I missed was that it wasn't only reading books, although that was a great thing, and I still read a lot, and I recommend it. That should not have been my primary. My primary should have been going and getting meetings with the people who'd written those books. I should have gotten in my car and slept in my car if necessary and just gone to these different places where these authors lived and knocked on their office door and tried to get a meeting. I think that would have helped jumpstart me much quicker to actually talk to the author and say, hey, I've got your book right here in my hand. And rather than me read the whole thing first, I thought I've started reading it, and I wanted to meet you. I wanted to get you in. Like, what has changed since you've written this? What are some other resources that you don't have listed in your bibliography in the back of the book? What are some newer resources you could point me towards? I would have asked those questions. Because, as you know, once something's written down and goes to the printer, it's printed. Can't fix it. That would have helped me a lot. Yes, but that would have helped me a lot. The other thing was to think about hiring a mentor right away, which is something I didn't do. And so for me, as my younger self had gone around and talked to these different authors, I would then tell my younger self, pick one of them. Because these are all men and women that have built investing businesses. They've all succeeded. Pick the one that I feel the most in tune with as far as their mentality and their approach and their outlook on business. Find that person and offer to pay them to mentor me. I would have and should have done that. I have had mentors since then, so I'm not completely hopeless when it comes to learning new things.
Well, it comes down to the subject for all of us, really. I think something we're more naturally gifted at than others, and a mentor can also really help give that outside perspective when it comes to what you should focus on, what you shouldn't, because there's no reason to focus on something you're really bad at. Find something you're like, okay at least naturally, and then start working on it from that point. You touched a little bit upon the last thing I wanted to ask you about today, Mike. And that's really, how do you decide to invest in? How do you decide which person you want to invest in? Because like back then there probably wasn't that many, but nowadays there's a million of them. You see so many, but some of them good, some of them bad, but it's just overwhelming, really.
Well, these are my criteria, which for our listeners may be a different set of criteria, but this is what I use. So first thing, obviously, is to construct criteria that fit you. Some things that you want to look out for. Look out on the person's, if they're have a webinar or they have a website or whatever they're putting out as kind of their lead in to get people interested in their service. Look for ethereal language that doesn't really say anything. Sometimes this is called guru, sometimes it's called woo-woo. It goes by different names, but if they're not being specific about what they do, if you can't read their material or listen to their sales pitch and immediately walk away and tell your next door neighbor exactly what you just heard, if it doesn't stick in your mind that well, they're probably not going to be a good mentor because they haven't clarified enough for themselves what they offer. Another thing to ask is to call in. This goes by many names, but I call it calling in. Somewhere on that website, there's going to be a phone number. Call and see how you get treated. That is a huge, huge filter for you to figure out if this is somebody you want to do business with. Another thing is ask how hard is it to talk to that top person. You know, the one that is claiming to be the mentor, depending how big a business they're running, may have a lot of people working for them. So how do you get treated? Are you able to reach that person? You're going to spend a lot of money with these people being mentored. So make sure you can get the kind of help and contact that you need to get. Those are a few things I look at. And when you talk to people, ask for proof of results. This is where, as you said, Moss, there's many, many people out there offering to be mentors and coaching and this, that, and the other. If they can't show you real results that they can prove, you should take that as a cautionary sign that it might not be the person for you. Or if you think it's a person for you, then ask, why don't you have provable results yet? How far along are you in your mentoring business? So those are some good questions to ask. And if you ever feel weird in the conversation, there is a long-standing sales technique that says that you should always make the prospective customer feel uncomfortable or feel bad. And I personally think that's not the way to do business. Um, so if you're starting to feel bad or really uncomfortable, ask yourself, why are you feeling that way? Is it because of the pressure they're putting on you to sign up, which is bad? Or is it because maybe they're making you uncomfortable to get at what your vision is and they want to figure out if you're a good fit for them? So that's actually a good thing if that's what they're doing. But if they're going to do that, they should tell you up front, hey, this might get uncomfortable because I'm trying to find out if you're a fit, that's a legit thing to say.
Yeah, like some questions, of course, it's not fun to ask, but I also just, on the ending note here, want to say, personally, I'm much more likely to buy most things when I'm happy than when I'm sad.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
much rather spend money when I'm happy. It's like, yes, I'm gonna spend money on everything. I wanna buy everything. It's almost as bad as being drunk. It's like being overly happy, then I'm gonna buy everything. It's almost. But on that bombshell, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe. Tell us how you have spent your money, how you have spent your first money down in the comments below. If you have any advice, feel free to also drop it down there.